Welcome to the Lone Zebra podcast, where I share my nitty-gritty health story and what I learned from the school of hard knocks. Things that doctors will never tell you. Hi, I'm your host, Diane Lalomia, and I'm glad you're here. We zebras need to stick together. Today's episode 005 on the Lone Zebra, Don't Lose Heart, is the title of our episode today. I know a lot of you have had disappointments and letdowns. I want to help those people that are dealing with a heart issue. I have some tips, tricks, and information to share with you on how I healed after my sudden cardiac arrest. Stay tuned for more information, and let's get started. My message for you today is do not lose heart, no matter how troubled you are today or yesterday. You have your highs and your lows. It comes with a chronic illness. You have good days and bad. Just keep going. Just keep one foot in front of the other day by day. Have hope. If you're having a hard day and you're struggling, that's what these groups are for. Our group will be here. You can go and listen to one of the podcasts, go to the chat room, reach out. You'll make friends. You'll have someone to talk to. The bad days don't all stay. I mean, you got good days and bad, and there'll be a good day tomorrow if there's a bad day today. I mean, you know how it goes. Just don't let it get you down. Now, one thing that I did learn, that part of my story is that after my breast cancer, and the death of my son and my breast cancer, and I didn't even mention my father passed away the night before my lumpectomy surgery. I didn't even go to his funeral because I couldn't travel. After having had a lumpectomy, I wasn't able to make the trip alone and carry my luggage and manage all that. It was just too much. We had animals on the farm at the time. My husband couldn't go. Somebody had to take care of the animals. Anyway, I digress. I fell into a real struggle. I was working from a work-at-home type job, doing phones. And actually, I think I was doing online work and working via emails as a customer support situation for a major client. And I just felt like I wasn't able to perform. I felt like I was not able to hold up my end of the teamwork. And I was letting everybody down. And it really was hard for me to feel like I was the stone that dragged the team down. I was really struggling with enough energy, and my moods were really struggling too. I mean, I'd been through 3 extremely devastating things in less than 8 months. March, my loss of my son to suicide. August, discovering a lump in my breast. December, having a lumpectomy, and before the lumpectomy surgery, my father passing. It was a lot. More than anybody, I think, could handle. I'm not sure some days how I got through, but all I can say is I kept my eyes on God, even when I was angry. And I'll talk about that too later. But first, I want to just tell you a little story about how I called my nurse practitioner and tried to explain to her the best I could. I just didn't feel right. I wasn't bouncing back after the treatments for breast cancer. The normal is you bounce back for whatever length of time of treatment. You're supposed to be that much more in time frame. If you would had 3 months of treatment and 3 months after treatment was done, you should be feeling a little more like you're normal. Well, my time had passed, whatever it was, at least by double, and I still didn't feel like myself. So I reached out and was kind of upset and probably in tears because I just felt like I didn't know what to do. I got put on hold by a receptionist, and then I talked to the nurse, then I talked to the nurse practitioner. By the time I got to the nurse practitioner, some kind of communication got messed up, and I was considered suicidal. Next thing I knew, my husband showed up at home, and the sheriff showed up at my house, and I was committed. It was considered a voluntary commitment because I had a choice of involuntary or voluntary. Voluntary meant I said, okay, I'll go in and be treated. Involuntary meant it went to the judge in a court, and it was probably looking at a week to 10 days minimum before I got out of the hospital. It was the mental ward of the major hospital, and I was committed. I wasn't supposed to be there. That was not the avenue I felt I needed. But the psychiatrist came in to talk to me, and I told him that the way that I got through such devastating things that would be so depressing was through my faith. And I asked this doctor if he had faith. Do you have, any religion or faith that you can attribute to giving you strength in troubled times? And he just stared at me, and his eyes were cold, and I could tell he didn't have any faith. I couldn't even look at him. I started repeating over and over, I want a faith-based counselor. He tried to talk to me. He was asking me, I had mentioned that, I had messages from God that just kept me going. I'd hear a song on the radio or somebody would say something and I just felt like it was meant for me. And it gave me that hope. It gave me that incentive to keep going, even when I was having a down day. And he started asking me, when God talks to you, do you hear voices? Oh my. That's when I turned my back to him, looked at the wall, and said, I want a faith-based counselor. He was trying to pigeonhole me into being schizophrenic or some other psychological misfit disease that they could put me in a square hole when I was a round peg. Whatever, that sort of misfit diagnosis. I knew it wasn't me. He wouldn't understand. Nobody would understand unless they had faith in God and knew how it could give you such strength and peace. Eventually, I got diagnosed, whatever, that I just had some real bad stressors, I guess. Anyways, I got referred to a faith-based counselor not far from the hospital, which was a later appointment. I went home, got discharged, all that stuff. I went back to the counselors and talked to the counselors. The one talk therapy session I had, of course, they want to know your relationship with your mother. That's when I realized that my mother's depression actually had a name, and it was called borderline personality disorder. I made a reference of walking on eggshells, and she referred me to a book by that title. And when I read that book, I said, that's just like somebody was a fly on the wall to see that. They know about, how it was. That's exactly how it was. So I learned something, and I was also told that I was probably the sanest patient the therapist had talked to. But it still required me to see the psychiatrist to evaluate and whether or not I should be put on any kind of prescriptions. Well, I knew my past history with prescriptions wasn't great, but I did make the appointment with a psychiatrist, and he wanted to give me an antidepressant. I don't remember off the top of my head which one it was, but I asked to see, the side effects. And when he did produce some information about the side effects of this particular drug, one of the side effects had to do with heart. With a history of heart problems, it was not really recommended. So I mentioned at this time I knew I had a left bundle branch block, but this was before my sudden cardiac arrest had happened. But I was still mindful that I could, and should be watching the prescriptions for any side effects that affected the heart. I did have a heart history too in the family. Well, I said, let me do some research. I went back home, started doing research. Come to find out, low vitamin D can cause depression. So I asked my regular nurse practitioner, who was my general physician, for her to test me for vitamin D levels, which we did, and it turned out I had a level of 9. Normal level was in the 20 to 30 range, and mine was 9. And that was what the depression was all about. It has nothing to do with chemical imbalances in your brain that they tell you drugs will help. What it is it's a vitamin deficiency, and it can be more than just the vitamin D, but vitamin D is really important, and most people are not getting enough, because unless you live in the tropics, you aren't going to get enough from the sun, especially in the winter, and marginally in the summer if you live north of Atlanta, Georgia. So I started doing mega doses of vitamin D, was retested, found what levels got me to the level that I wanted to be. A good level for long health and better health is about an 80, a test level of 80. And that's what mine came back after the mega dosing. For me, it's like the can-do. I call it my can-do vitamin. When I take vitamin D, I can do anything. I feel like I can tackle any challenge. If I get low on vitamin D and I titrate my levels, when I'm out in the sun, I take less, and in the winter, take more. So I titrate my levels according to the sun exposure. But if I get down on the D, drop it too fast, I can feel a difference. I feel like I can't do anything. I feel defeated. I feel like giving up. So let me just mention that. So many of you, if you're feeling that way, get your vitamin D levels checked. And as a side note too, recently I just checked the minimum daily requirement of vitamin D used to be between 20 and 32, I think it was. Now the level is 12.5. That's not enough. They are misleading you. You need to have your levels closer to 70 or 80 to stay in good health. At least they should be no less than 20 to 30, not 12.5. The other caveat that I must mention is the part about the heart and why I didn't take the antidepressant. Those medications, those antidepressants, can cause an elongated QT syndrome for patients that have irregular heart rhythms, arrhythmias as they're known. Should be very mindful and careful, because these medications and others like them can cause an irregular heartbeat and can put certain individuals into cardiac arrest. It's nothing to play around with. These people we've seen that have had these sudden cardiac arrests in the last couple of years, well, I won't go into the details, but I think you can probably figure out that these people are deficient in a lot of vitamins and may have been rolling up their sleeves for you know what. It just doesn't make for a good combination. And then they go out and exercise, these athletes that can bring on a long QT. Exercise has to be moderate to mild if you have that condition. Going out and playing a football game and getting practice and all that sort of stuff. I just read yesterday where 3 high school kids in Pennsylvania got air flighted during football games due to cardiac arrest and other heart implications. Myocarditis, from what I understand, is 1 in 35 of the jabs end up with heart conditions. So be mindful of medications you're taking, exercising, and whether or not you have rolled up your sleeve. You might want to just think about that. Okay, that's all. I'm going to shut up now. Reading from the book Women of Purpose, a daily devotional for discovering a meaningful life in Christ by Sarah Daigle. Today we're reading from day 26. Therefore, having received this ministry by the mercy of God, we do not lose heart. 2 Corinthians chapter 4, verse 1, ESV. For God, who said, "Let light shine out of darkness," has shone in our hearts to give the light of the knowledge of the glory of God in the face of Jesus Christ. 2 Corinthians chapter 4, verse 6, ESV. I joined my husband in the living room and picked up my laptop, but my fingers remained nearly immobile, and I found it impossible to write. All day I'd been hounded with insecurities, fears, and self-hatred, and a gnawing sense of depression hung over me just like the clouds had been hanging over our county for the past few months. It was my husband's birthday. I hated myself for being so low on this special day. Thank goodness we had celebrated with a party the night before, or I'd felt like a complete failure. I gave up writing, picked up my Bible, and found a solitary spot in the backyard. Honesty with the Lord has become my new default since I learned I don't need to perform for Him. He picks me up when I let it all out and hold nothing back. I opened my Bible to a random spot, and the first verse I read mentioned hope. Since we have such hope, we are very bold. 2 Corinthians chapter 3, verse 12a. I read on. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom. Verse 17b. And then I read, and we all, with unveiled face, beholding the glory of the Lord, are being transformed into the same image from one degree of glory to another. Verse 18a. It didn't end there. My eyes skimmed to the next chapter, and I found this. Therefore, having this ministry by the mercy of God, we do not lose heart. Chapter 4, verse 1. Paul goes on to say, we put aside the works of our flesh because God, who said, "Let light shine out of darkness," has shone in our hearts to give the light of the knowledge of the glory of God in the face of Jesus Christ. Chapter 4, verse 6. Immediate peace flooded my heart. Here was God Himself through Paul's writing telling me there's hope. I know there was no accident in me landing on those verses. I picked up my Bible and walked inside with a certain spring to my step. A few hours later, my sister called me and, out of the blue, gave me the sweetest words of encouragement. Days later, my brother-in-law said, "You're doing an awesome job as mama and wife. Bravo." And a few days later, I received a text from a friend that addressed the very thing I was down about. Then another text from a friend who said she had a dream, and in the dream I was discouraged, asking for prayer. The verse the Lord gave her in the dream for me blew me away. It was exactly what I needed to hear in that very particular situation. I was amazed. Not one, but multiple things in succession. God cares this much for me? To meet me in a dark hour with one thing right after another, so specific and so personal? God is personal, highly in tune with the deepest workings of your heart, because He made your heart. Friends, it's okay if you haven't found all the answers to your need or circumstance. Let it all out to the Lord and allow Him to breathe hope into you. He's the God of hope, and He causes light to shine out of darkness. That night, I tucked the kids into bed and tidied up the house. My husband was working nights, so the house was empty and still as I picked up my phone. A link caught my eye, and I opened it to read more about hope. If we're waiting around for someone else to change our lives, we have it wrong, and it may never happen, the writer declared. If your life needs change, reach out to make it happen. No one owes us. If we live as though they do, we may always be missing out on many things. If we need help, we need to reach out for it. If you enjoy painting, you're the one to pick up the brush, or it will never happen. You may not have things handed to you, but you can reach out for them. Be brave. Take risks. Ask God for what you need. Know that everything good warrants sacrifice and risk. Nothing can destroy you unless you allow it. Nothing. Allow God to unlock your heart and set you free. Pursue Him and all the good things He's gifted you with. Live fully. Lord, thank you that we don't need to hang about the low zone any longer. Thank you that we get to soar. Amen. So another thing that Dr. Kahn shared with me that I wanted to make sure I shared with others too was it's good for not just heart patients, but he specifically had told me that this was recommended by all the Japanese cardiologists was infrared sauna. He said that the regular sauna would work, but he found that most of the cardio patients preferred the infrared sauna because it doesn't have that humidity to deal with. It just has the heat. It's a dry heat and not the combination of humid and heat like a wet sauna, a regular sauna is. The infrared sauna actually provides the energy in the body. And it is explained a lot better if you go and look at the blog post, and I'll provide show note links to that blog post about easy water. Easy water is a term, and it is a whole subject on itself, but that is created in the body when you spend time in a heat environment. This infrared sauna is one that will do it. A regular sauna does it. Being out in the sun or heat of any kind will create the easy water. But the infrared sauna seems to be the ticket for the cardio patients, for sure. But if you're dealing with fatigue, low energy, muscle soreness, where you just can't get out of bed, you really might think about infrared sauna and doing some treatments and creating easy water so that your body has the energy. The easy water provides the ATP, the energy of your cells. It makes the mitochondria happy, everybody's happy, and it makes for a lot better energy levels. Once I started doing the infrared sauna, I started doing the cardio rehab. Once I got done, I got enough energy where I started doing yoga classes too. Yoga is something that helped me because I don't have the hypermobility to the extent that some people with Ehlers-Danlos does. I do have double joints in certain joints. I can do the thumb to the onto the well, just about. I don't want to push it, but the thumb one where you bend it back to your forearm. I can put my thumbs over my knuckles kind of thing. I can extend my elbow and it looks kind of bent the wrong way. I do have the double jointed, but not to the extent that I have dislocations. But if you do have Ehlers-Danlos with weak stability in your joints, you really want to be careful about doing yoga, especially any extreme kind of yoga. It's really good for the movement. You want to do the movement because it stimulates the lymph system. Your lymph glands are what cleans out your toxins, and it's your cleansing. It's right underneath the skin where the fascia is, which is what is a problem for the Ehlers-Danlos. All of that and also the mast cells, they're all there together. It's all in that subcutaneous layer between the skin and the fat and muscles. So they're all of that is that same area of your body. And by keeping the movement going and plenty of water and staying hydrated, your lymphatic system can clean out the crap out of your system and help you to detox. That's another thing that the infrared sauna does, is help detox when you're having issues with that. However, what I want to just point out is that it was recommended to me you start out slow in shorter sessions. You don't go real high with the temperatures. You want to go in kind of the normal range, maybe low side of normal. Mine had a setting with a dial that you could put it on for, a session. And then you had a minute timer. It was recommended that I start out with maybe 10 or 15 minutes and work up in 5-minute increments with each session as I felt comfortable. To not go in there expecting to stay in there an hour, that's not good. You don't want to do that. Start small, work up. Same thing with anything, in my opinion. Medications, exercise, changes in diet, start small. Work in small steps. I just wanted to let you know that your heart is a muscle, and the cells are all completely renewed in your body within between 7 and 8 years. So it's been since 2014, almost 10 years now, 9 years for sure, since my heart issue. So my heart has actually been rebuilt now. So if they tell you you're damaged, you've got tissue, your heart is damaged or something, I took it with a grain of salt. It went in one ear, out the other. Doctors tell you stuff. They don't give you any kind of hope. They'll tell you never walk again or this, that, or the other, like they did to my husband after an automobile accident. If you don't believe them, you don't have to live by their limitations. You can put your sights and have goals and set your mind and have hope, and you can achieve some unbelievable things, especially with the help of God. Put it in God's hands and let it go. Best advice I can give you. Okay. Today's featured music is by The Wildflowers, featuring Christine Smith. The title of the song is I Lean on You.
Morning has broken, my windows are open. Wanna feel the wind blow through my hair. Which way do I follow? What happens tomorrow? I turn to you and hope you can guide the way. Sometimes I give up, just wanna be on my own. Even in the darkest times, you give me hope. So I lean on you when I've lost my way.
All information in this podcast or on the website, blog, or in newsletters is for educational purposes only and not intended to be construed as medical advice, diagnosis, or prescription. Please seek the help of a medical professional to get treatment for your particular condition. Thanks for listening to the Lone Zebra podcast. Don't forget to check out the show notes at dianelalomia.substack.com. That's Diane, D-I-A-N-E, Lalomia, Lalomia.substack.com. Music on the podcast is provided by Epidemic Sound. See the show notes for featured music and artists. Don't forget to share this podcast with your family and friends, especially fellow zebras. And don't forget to rate The Lone Zebra on your favorite podcast app so others can find me. Until next time, blessings. Have a great day.